Well, hello there. This is the Deep Trench with Mike. It's a melting week here in the trench with unseasonably high temps. Got a full pot of coffee and a few packed smokes. Take one or both. I'm going to talk about interwebs and atheists, and if you hadn't noticed, I changed the format this week in honor of one of my favorite YouTube atheists. As they say, the greatest form of flattery. Now, I'm sure you have seen uh, Thunderfoot's latest video in which he is talking about feminism, and not just any kind of feminism, a certain brand of feminism that is poisoning atheism. And while I really don't want to go that far because I like to consider myself a feminist to a point. You know, I kind of get that they've been shat on by my forefathers, men who in the past like just generally shat on them. You know, didn't let them work, stay home, be baby makers. I get that. And it was wrong. And I still say it's wrong now. Additionally, just to make sure I'm fully understood, women are still being subjected to unfair treatment. The fact that even rape exists kind of attests to that. However, that being said, some of the things that have been said drive me a little crazy, and I do find generally insulting. And if to use a word, and I don't usually like to use this word, but it seems hateful. And if it's not at least hateful, it at least seems like there's this presupposition that men have this evil tendency. But I'll get into that later. I know I'm treading on very thin ground. That's why I'm trying to pick my words carefully. But maybe I really can't. Because as Claire described in her video,
See, here's some folk wisdom from your old Aunt Claire about pissing contests. In the end, nobody wins and everybody ends up soggy. And with that in mind, I'll say no more on this topic, ever.
So let's put on our trench coats. Let's dive right on in. Because, you know, I'm not really scared of piss. It's generally, a little foul smelling, but unless you got some kind of infection, it's generally just salt and water for the most part. It's waste. But, hey, let's dive right on in. Okay, the first thing I'm going to dive right on in here, just so I can show that I'm being fair, that I'm going to judge somebody of my own gender first, because it's a little bit easier. And a slight judgment of Thunderfoot's video is this idea that his First Amendment rights are being violated because feminists use the block button and they're making this, as he put it, their own echo chamber. Now, they're allowed to do that. There's no breaking of the First Amendment. Otherwise, you could just go to a lawyer and say, hey, they blocked me. But, that opens up a whole mess of fucking lawsuits. And it's not going to work. It's not feasible. Any lawyer in their right mind will tell you, look, that's not feasible. It's not actually a First Amendment issue. And it's not. And that's where I kind of agree with Matt Dillahunty a little bit. It's not a First Amendment at all. But that aside, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a breach of the First Amendment issue. It doesn't. You have to look at it as, well, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Because just because somebody's rights aren't being violated doesn't mean that this is honest or generally good-willed or anything positive whatsoever. So let's get into that a little bit. And now, just to talk about the idea of blocking and just generally not having a comment section, is that I can understand not having comments if it's something that is just a preference, like music. What's the point of having comments on a musical piece on YouTube? There's none. Not really, because you'd have a bunch of people going, woohoo, yeah, or, yeah, man, that just sucks. Whatever. It doesn't matter what the opinion is. If they're writing it to write it, whoop de frickin' do. I can understand disabling the comments because there's nothing of value. But when feminists start talking about changing rules that affect men at conferences, well, that's serious. That affects lives. That's not just preference anymore. Now we're talking about, opinions that are going to affect lives. And if you're just going to disable the comment section or just block your way to a consensus and construct your little echo chamber, I'm sorry, but I consider that dishonest. I mean, and so, just like Thunderfoot said, it's like a church. And he's absolutely fucking right. You are like a church. You're on your pulpit, and the masses aren't allowed to say, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. No, you're not allowing that to happen. So I'd like you to get off your high horse, because that's what it seems like you are. You feminists have put yourself in this pedestal, and how dare we ask you to come down to our level, have a discussion, and see if what you're saying makes any sense before we get on the bandwagon with you. Because I might be willing to. You could convince me if we could have a discussion. But if you're not even going to have this discussion, I'm going to apply my skepticism and say, okay, I need proof. I need evidence that something has happened and now a change needs to be made. You're feeling inadequate or unsafe at a convention. I don't see why we have to change it, because you're too freaking insecure. That's not good enough for me. Your insecurities aren't good enough for us to change rules, at least not how you are proposing them. So please talk to us. Talk to Thunderfoot, talk to everyone, and just don't block and ban your way or disable comments so that you can pretend you have a consensus, so you can pretend that there's a majority that agrees with you. Because it can almost guarantee that you won't ever have it. And that gets into my next issue that I'm going to get into. And that next issue is that what you've done recently and how you've proposed this and how you are stating this is that men need to be told not to issue rape threats or not to rape, that we need to be told this. That's insulting. That's really insulting. I don't need to be told that. I know that. And I'm willing to bet that 99% of all other men will say the exact same thing. And they actually do mean it. 99% of most men will never threaten to rape you. Most men will never actually rape you. Just telling you that. And it's serious. We're not going to. This is not going to happen to the majority. Now, you might have a few cases. You might have that 1 in 100 that actually does something like that. And that's regrettable. And I agree with you that sucks. It really does. But at the same point in time, you don't need these rules put down, because what's the paper going to do? The paper does nothing. It's not going to prevent him from saying what he said. If the guy gets the opportunity to actually do the greater crime of actual rape, the paper doesn't mean anything. So here's my proposal. How you can fix this, because this is incredibly insulting, and I can't see any self-respecting man actually agreeing with this at all, because you've put out this false dichotomy where if I agree with you, then I'm saying that I need to be told not to rape you. I need to be told not to threaten to rape you. I don't need to be told that. And if I disagree with you, well, it's kind of like how you put it to Thunderfoot. Well, if people don't agree with you, they're creeps. Well, that's kind of a nice way to put it. It's like a mob boss analogy. I mean, come on, I can't win. Either I pay you money or you shoot me. I mean, come on. We all lose. Can you not see how that's insulting? It's like me saying we need rules at TAM, even though I have absolutely no evidence this is actually going on, that ladies, please do not touch little boys' genitals. Do we really need that rule? I mean, me even suggesting that rule needs to be put in place at conventions. Isn't that insulting to you? I'd hope so. I hope so. Do you have any self-respect that unless I had damn good reason, and I had evidence, and I could show that women were en masse were inappropriately touching little boys, that you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that rule put in place because it implies something. So here's like the middle ground I'm hoping that you can go with. Let's have it in the rules and let's talk to people who are sitting at atheist conventions to have security on hand, and have it put plainly in brochures and pamphlets that security is on hand, and that people who do illegal acts will be held, given over to police, and they will be prosecuted under the fullest extent of law. If that was in a brochure, it's gender neutral, it doesn't insult men, and it still gets the point across to those who might break the law while they're at the convention that something might happen, that there are security forces there, and they could possibly go to jail. Just because, now there's a little bit of strength there. There's teeth. The little piece of paper that you would hand out, you say, well, you can't say this to me, that has no teeth. But saying that security's there and they will actually hand you over to police should you commit a crime while on the grounds, while at the convention, that has teeth. That makes people worried. Though, if somebody's thinking about doing something illegal, yeah, I mean, now they're worried because there's your security right there, watching them, watching everything go on, and if they see an illegal act happen, well, next thing you know, you're down on the ground in a hold, plastic, cuffs are being put on you, and you're being handed over to the police.